She's an expert on food safety and sustainability and is also the co-host of the Hero's Journey podcast. Today, we're chatting with Julia Ranney about lab-grown meat. She's answering some important questions and addressing its safety. This is Advocate Now. Julia, thank you so much for being here. Now, you specialize in food security and sustainability. How did this all start for you? Were you always passionate about health and food safety?
I've been passionate about it since I was very young, maybe beginning of high school. I've always been very, very curious. And I remember watching Food Inc. when I was 14 years old and being so fascinated by just simple concepts like cows eat corn. Didn't know that. Why is that? And sort of just digging into the details. And I got really interested in food ingredients because I was like, what are these weird things in our food? I don't know what they are. Let's just delve deep and try to understand, get into the nitty gritty. And when I did that, I was frankly shocked.
Yeah, I want to talk about lab-grown meat, which has created a lot of conversation over the past few years. So to start off, how is lab-grown meat made, and why are those who are involved in the sustainability movement intrigued by it?
Yeah, for sure. So on a basic level, lab-grown meat is made by taking a biopsy from an animal, extracting cells, and then taking those cells and putting them in a culture, like in a petri dish, and adding some sort of serum to help them grow, and then turning them into stem cells, which allows you to basically turn them into any kind of cell you would want. They take a muscle cell and transform it to a stem cell. And then from that cell, they just try to grow them at a mass scale to create a sort of ground meat product, essentially. But other companies are also seeking to create like full tissue pieces of meat, like a chicken breast from cell culture, which is a much more intensive process involving creating these like very thin cell layers and layering them on top of each other. And the sustainability world is very interested in this because it's an animal agriculture alternative. And for that reason, it suggests to be something that could alleviate or help us address the climate crisis.
I want to talk about some of the concerns, one of which, as you mentioned, is the genetic engineering of cells and their potential cancer-promoting properties. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so basically, in order to find a way to make these cells grow exponentially, essentially, you will have to genetically engineer them to make them immortal. And this poses the risk of creating cells that are cancerous, because the best cells that proliferate, unendlessly are cancer type cells, cancer causing or cancer like. And this poses an issue because, first of all, under FDA regulations, we're not supposed to be consuming any cells that are cancerous via our food consumption. And second of all, we have no idea what the potential ramifications are of consuming these products, consuming these cells, but also just no sense of what will happen to our health, to our bodies. And it's likely that you would digest these cells and nothing will happen to you because you have stomach acid, you have all these like very intense intestinal properties that figure out how to process these cells. But because this is novel and we've never explored it, we just have no idea what the potential ramifications are. And I do think that it is the government's responsibility to discern whether or not there are any ramifications.
And thankfully, the push in recent years by many people has been, toward non-GMO foods, away from genetically modified foods. I know that's something that I definitely look for when I'm shopping for, anything that I'm going to consume or put inside my body is, not to be genetically modified. So can you talk about the potential risk or other concerns involved?
In just cell cultured meat in general?
Yeah.
Potential risks. Well, First of all, another aspect of that in terms of GMOs is we don't know how this product will be labeled. So it's highly possible that these companies have patented proprietary processes that we don't have access to, business secrets. So we have no idea whether or not there will be genetically engineered cell lines. There is no transparency, and there's no transparency required. So just like there's no clear GMO label on foods containing GMOs, the same will be true here. And it's hard to know even if they'll be required to say cell cultured meat labeled, like just a general lack of transparency, which is a major issue. And included in that transparency issue is the lack of knowledge we have with regard to any of the additives they're adding to this product. So not only are they growing this product, first of all, we don't know if this product will be actually animal cruelty free. We have no idea. Second of all, despite what the industry might say, we have no idea what growth hormones will be added, all the different amino acids that could potentially be genetically engineered. There's just so many inputs that are kind of mystery. Will there be artificial coloring to make it look a specific way? There's just a lot of questions and very few answers.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, for those who are in support of lab grown meat, another topic of conversation is around animal safety, because some do see it as cruelty free because there aren't any animals actually slaughtered in the production process. But that's not actually true, because in order to produce lab cultured meat, they have to extract animal cells from living animals. And that's typically done through a pretty painful process, right?
Well, it's a biopsy. Anyone in the lab-grown meat industry will say it's pain-free, but I mean, they're not the animal experiencing the needle extracting the cells. They don't know. But then two other things to keep track of if we're talking about animal cruelty-free with this product are, one, the initial culture media used to grow the initial cells is often fetal bovine serum, which is the blood from a fetus from a pregnant calf that has been slaughtered. So that's not cruelty-free. In fact, it's quite disturbing to think about. Right. It's used a lot, but it's the companies claim they found FBS-free serums that they're utilizing, which is definitely a part of the industry that they're working on improving. But as of right now, it's still very much in use, regardless of whether or not they want to tell you that it is, but we know it is. And another thing is, there's the process I was describing by layering. So you can make like the breast, layering the cells. The way that they do that is via using these roller bottles, these plastic single-use bottles, which is another concern. And they line the bottle with porcine gelatin, which is an animal product as well.
Looking ahead, maybe 15 years from now, what do you think the meat industry will look like?
Meat industry in general?
Yeah.
It's a very good question. My hope is that the meat industry looks like eating a lot less meat and eating much higher quality meat, and a food and agricultural system in general that is focused on regenerative production, which includes animal production as well, because animals have a very important role to play in regenerating the land. And that we have sort of, as humans, more respect for the creatures we're consuming. With regard to technology, I'm not against technology. I'm not against food technology. I just think we have to ask ourselves, is this helping us become more connected to the land? Is this actually a solution? Does this make us healthier? Just, things we have to ask ourselves when there's food innovation is like, how does this actually make the world better? How does this actually improve the way that we live and consume things? And so I don't know about lab-grown meat in 15 years. My guess is it will probably continue, but at a different sort of scale. Probably they'll make ground products from lab-grown meat and combine them with different things, which is what they're doing now, which is the most sort of feasible concept. But I'm not sure about potential cost parity or anything. They've said they projected that it won't be until 10 to 15 years that we have any potential cost parity for this product. So it's very hard to say. what we'll see. And also I would say it depends a lot on what we choose to subsidize.
I'm Sonia Baghdadi. Thanks so much for watching and advocating. For more stories and content like this, just head to advocate.com and advocatechannel.com.